during a team scrimmage or, as you're sitting and reflecting on session. So I think that the best way to get started is to start thinking about this list. So number one for us is communication. I think that we don't know how to communicate as young goalkeepers because people just ask it of us and they don't tell us like, okay, well, here's what communication means right now. Here's what you can do. So at TKI, we started to talk about just like a few things that are non-negotiable, like in possession. It's not just like, I want the ball, right? That's too hard. So we say hard to feet, or some people say home, or into space, or set. And these different things have different meanings for how I want the ball, but it's an easy, non-negotiable way to start working on communication, thus building your presence as well. So obviously it goes well beyond how you ask for the ball. It's about shifting and controlling your back line. It's about conveying a message with a certain sense of urgency based on the situation. But communication can really pay off dividends in a goalkeeper's presence.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows I watch NWSL, call NWSL, and that's what Jordan Bloomer's X factor is her communication and her presence, her personality. And especially when your team is going through a really hard time or a little bit of a dip in form, the results maybe wobble. But for a goalkeeper to be able to be strong back there, it instills trust. It instills a belief that you can't quantify on stats. You can't quantify presence. That's, I think, the bit of the problem with it is save percentage, passing percentage. You have all those different types of stats. You don't have any way to necessarily quantify objectively presence, but subjectively you can look at the confidence of the back line. You can look at the confidence of the midfield of, okay, we can take more risks because we know we have our goalkeeper back there who's strong, and we have faith in that goalkeeper, and we have a trust in that if the ball gets past us, it's going to be even more difficult for them to score because we have a fantastic goalkeeper. That almost allows everyone to be automatic, which is like in flow state, right? We're not thinking about our choices. We're not thinking, oh, I need to shift over here left, and because there's a runner here, I need to drop. No, it's just instinctive. And it allows you to get in that flow state, which is where we want to be, where you're not necessarily thinking, you're not hesitating, you're just reacting on your gut instinct. And when you have someone that's behind you, that's establishing that type of presence, it's easier to be in that instinctual game mode flow state rather than just being like questioning everything, freezing, hesitating, and almost like in this like fight, flight, or freeze state. So not only are you with your communication impacting the opponent and limiting their chances, but you're also hyping up your back line. You're also instilling that confidence, that belief in them for that you guys are in a good place, and that no matter what the opponent does, you're going to be in the best position to stop what they're trying to do.
Brilliant. And it's not this incessant, constant communication. It's direct. It's asking things of your back line when you need them in urgent moments. It's shifting or moving them. It is encouragement and praise. It's not telling my striker to shoot when they're in the attacking half. So we could do a whole podcast just on communication and what effective communication looks like as a goalkeeper. But because this one's about presence, we're kind of going to just leave it there. Being able to communicate, knowing that you're communicating certain moments and allowing to take that pressure off your back line and like create that flow state like Jill discussed is super important for developing what is your presence in the net.
Hit us with
number two, be decisive. So I think one thing that I think a lot about when I say this, it's a funny analogy, but like you and I, we like to ride our bikes. So we cycle and you're clipped in and you're on the road, and you're sometimes on roads that cars can go 50. And one of the things that they tell you when you're learning how to bike like that, not just bike at a park, is be predictable for drivers. You want to be predictable for drivers because it's safer for you, right? If I'm on the shoulder, I'm on the shoulder. If I'm taking a turn, I'm signaling that with my hand. I'm not doing sharp, crazy turns. I'm not swerving. I want to make it predictable for them, just like I need them to make it predictable for me because it keeps us safe. And I think about that as a goalkeeper. Like, can I be predictable for my teammates? Like, there's a ball over the back line and I'm not making a rash decision to come out. I'm coming out because I think I can impact it. And that's something that they kind of know for me. It's not my teammates making the decision, oh, Tori's going to come and yell for me to come. It's they kind of know that there's an awareness or a connection between us based on past experience that helps them when I'm decisive. And I think that is huge at all levels, but especially as you get older and as you start to play with teammates more consistently. Like when you're young, you don't play with the same teammates all the time or play against the same teams. But as you get older, that starts to happen. And I think being decisive in your actions can go a really long way with what your presence is, because it allows you to do what you're good at. And it also allows your teammates to play off you. Okay, she's coming out. I'm going to go in behind to protect the goal line. Or
welcome to the Keeper Institute podcast. My name is Tori Corsaro. I'm a strength and
and you went with it and you committed. And I think for me, that shows that a goalkeeper is pretty well-rounded, because they put some understanding and they put some trust in themselves to make a choice.
Yeah. I remembered my second point, and it goes well with what you're saying, is that when you take no risk, that is a risk in itself.
Yeah. Wow.
So, for example, when your team is in the attacking third and the ball is OSR, outside shooting range, and you're on your line, you're assuming no risk because you don't want that. You want to defend the goal, right? That's the main objective out of possession, is deny the opponent from scoring goals, right? And you're taking no risk. Like, I'm not getting caught out. I'm just going to stay on my line and try to protect this big goal as much as I can. When you do that, that is a risk, because now you're risking the space in front for someone to get into that space in the most dangerous area of the field, which is the space behind your center backs, right? When you are, maybe let's just say, not as an extreme, maybe your team is at a talent deficit, right? And you're playing in a low block. You're taking less risk because you want to deny the opponent from scoring, but inherently that is risky because you'll have the ball less and you need to make more meaningful attacks from the limited possession that you have. Every time you play the game, you take a risk. Knowing yourself, right? Knowing yourself in terms of your strengths will help you mitigate some of that risk. What the heck do I mean by that? If you know you are very aggressive by nature inside the penalty box, and you have spread, block, and smother buttoned up, and you feel good about that, then you can take a risk to be more aggressive when the ball is potentially in that gray area of I'm not 100% sure, right? Whereas if you know that you're more of a reactive goalkeeper, and maybe on crosses is not your strength, that you can either take up a better starting position so that you increase your range to protect the area, or you make more cautious decisions to set back and protect the goal. You're taking a risk, yes, but it's a calculated risk in your favor. So instead of 50-50, maybe it's 60-40, which is better, right? But every decision that you make in the game, there's risk attached to it. You're never just going to play it safe without potentially risking something else in another phase of the game or another area of your game. And so helping you, when you know your strengths, when you know your areas for improvement, not only do you get opportunities in training to explore and apply what you're learning to the areas of deficiencies, but it allows you in games to play to your strengths so that you can mitigate some of that risk and take more calculated, make more calculated decisions in your favor to be able to solve problems inside of your skill set more often, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it makes sense. And I think that it perfectly kind of ties up this podcast. Like, it brings us right back to point one, which is why I said it was cyclical. Like, you have to take ownership, but you can't take ownership if you don't look back inside.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on, let's use the example you used earlier. You can't look at your parent and say, what is it that I need? You have to look for yourself and be like, what do I feel? Where do I need support? Where do I need help? So all these things, all three of these points circle right back to one another. And if I'm not looking at me, and if I'm not asking questions of myself and taking maybe those small moments post-practice, post-game to reflect, then it's a lot harder to do any of these points, but it's also a lot harder to develop my game as a whole.
Yeah. let's give people a practical way to assess. Okay. Here's a very practical thing that you can do that will help you figure out where your strengths lie and where you need to continue to improve. So if you were to break down the game into five tasks, there's 5 tasks to a goalkeeper. Support the attack, communicate to limit opponent's opportunity, protect the goal, protect the space behind, protect the goal area. Write those 5 down. Where do you feel the most comfortable? And then if you want to even go further, well, I feel really comfortable with final actions outside the penalty area. I feel really comfortable. But you know what? I really struggle when the ball's bouncing. I really struggle when the attacker is clearing away faster than my defender. I struggle with spreading to my left. To my right, got it buttoned up. But I struggle with my left. In possession, break that down. Start the attack. Do I feel comfortable when being pressed? Do I feel comfortable when the opponent is not pressing me? Do I play?
Welcome to the Keeper Institute podcast. My name is Tori Corsaro. I'm a strength and conditioning and goalkeeper coach here at the Keeper Institute and your host for today's show. The Keeper Institute is a unique goalkeeper training facility in New Jersey aimed at developing better goalkeepers and better people. On this podcast, we will be discussing all things goalkeeping, character development, and more.
Welcome back to another episode of the Keeper Institute podcast. One air horn only, because my girl JL is, she's on the tracks, aka she is doing a lot of commentating because it's the end of seasons and playoffs and all that fun stuff. But don't be worried, it's not just me. You don't have to hear me ramble all by myself this week. I got my girl, brand new to TKI, brand new to the East Coast. Let's go. Faith Kempfer. Did I ask her how to say her last name? Because I thought there was a K in there. Yes, I did. I did ask her, but I think I did okay. How'd I do, Faith?
That was stellar, Tori. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Smashed it.
You guys, Faith is our newest employee at TKI. She has been with us for just a few short months, but she has been a part of TKI for quite some time because she started out with Jill's TKI University. So through her time there, you did that when you were, what, a junior in college?
No, I was at community college. It was 2020. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it's been quite a while.
Yep.
And so she was part of TKI University. And then fast forward a little later down the road, we started the coaching college and Faith applied. And we're just so lucky that she's here with us. And I've had a blast every conversation or chance that I've had to work with Faith. But before we get into all the questions, I'm going to let her give you a little bit more of a background on herself, a bit of her playing experience, as well as her coaching experience to date.
Sure thing. Okay. 2020 was my introduction to TKI. During that time, I had started playing college ball at a community college. Tough times, and it worked out perfectly. From there, I transferred to a 4-year college, Whitworth University, where I played my last 2 years. It was a great experience. I also dabbled in a little lacrosse my senior year there, which was a good time. Did a lot of work with the Hidden Opponent. If you're unfamiliar with that, they're like a student-athlete mental health organization. Through my time as a student-athlete, I kind of got involved into coaching little by little. It started when I was at community college. I reached out to like a local club that I had started working with, reached out to their goalkeeping program, and then the rest is history from there.
Yeah. And now we have you with us, and you are doing your darn thing and kind of, I'm assuming, hopefully learning lots and getting more and more experience. So I guess my first question is just like, what made you decide to apply, but then also take the position, right? Because sometimes we apply things and it's like, okay, I want to learn more, I'm curious. And then ultimately you took a position that moved you across the country into an area of, we'll say, unknowns.
Yeah, I mean, a pretty crazy thing. I think when I brought it up to a lot of people when I was considering it, they were like, what are you up to? And I was like, honestly, I don't know, but it feels like I was at a point where something needed to change. I was at a point in my life where coaching was becoming really important to me, and that became pretty evident just because of how much commitment I had put into it, how much extra time I had put into it, even though it wasn't my main job. So I was like, okay, I really care about this. What can I do as a coach to support myself and put myself into a better place for these kids that I'm working with? And what I found was very limited. I couldn't find any resources that were really accessible to me or things that I thought would really better me as a coach. And it just so happened, like during this week where I was having this revelation, that I saw you guys posted that you were hiring for this new coaching college position. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of weird. Like stars are aligning. Just on a whim, one day I sent in an application, which to apply for something like that on a whim is pretty wild, I will say. But in all honesty, I also didn't really expect anything to come from it as quickly as it did. It was kind of more like a step for me mentally, but also then Jill texted me like the next day, because we had our contacts from TKI University, which was 4 or 5 years prior, but that just like is a testament to the people that you guys are and you stay in contact and all of that. But yeah, I just felt like I needed some extra support, and this was something I wanted to pursue, and it felt like the absolute perfect opportunity.
I actually didn't, like, we've talked about that you're at TKI University, and we talked about like what it was going to take for you to move here, because I was on like one of your earlier interviews, and then as well as like hanging out this summer as you came out to kind of like do like a little trial run. But I don't think I knew the part about you kind of like looking and seeking that opportunity, and then it being like shortly after that we posted that. I just think that that's so cool, the way that stars kind of align there, and the way that things work out. And soccer is such a huge sport, and there's so many different facets, but it brings you back to like how small that community actually is, especially when you start to talk about like goalkeeping. I think it's really, really cool that everything kind of fell in line like that. I like that. And I resonate with you very, very closely. Like when I moved here in 2016, I knew nobody. I had nowhere to live. I stayed in a hotel, and it was like, you just kind of throw caution to the wind, and you're like, I feel in my heart, this is what I want and need. And I'm not afraid to take the risk, because ultimately, like, I want to go out swinging if that's what I'm going to do. So I resonate with you, and I have so much respect for you, because I know how difficult that is to kind of put yourself out there like that.
Yeah, it was interesting too, because I really wanted to like come do like a little trial run, which I came for like less than a week in like April, I think, or it was May maybe. But I'm just such like a precautious person. Although I will admit, like, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So that was more so just like, I've been there. I feel like comfortable. I can say yes to this without just like fully throwing everything away and moving across the country with no, prior
just
steps.
A little crazy, not full blown crazy.
Yeah, like guys, I've been there. They're real people. Like I can go.
This isn't a catfish situation,
right,
mom and dad.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about like the details of it in terms of what you were looking for to develop yourself and grow and learn as a coach. Like, can you start? I have 2 questions kind of branching off this. Start with like, what is it that you felt like you were seeking or like needing? And then what was it about this opportunity or even being here that you're like, okay, here's like where I'm really investing myself to be the coach I want to be for the future?
Okay. Yeah. Great question. I think what I was seeking, so little context, like I was working as a goalkeeping director at like a local premier club, like one of the bigger clubs in our area. Kind of crazy that they hired me so young, fresh out of college, but I loved the opportunity and I really enjoyed the time I had there. But what I started to feel was like I didn't really have the tools to get across the points and information that I wanted these kids to have. So I felt like I had this information, I had experience, I had like skills to offer, but I didn't really have like the right vehicle to deliver it to them. Like my coaching just really needed to be fine-tuned. And it wasn't that I had received feedback that said I wasn't doing that correctly, but I just felt like I had so much more to give them, but I didn't know how to do it. Like it was all just like bottled up here, but I couldn't like get it out. So that's kind of something I had brought up when I first started talking to Jill about this opportunity, was like, I just need like more experience coaching and I need help doing it. Because being in that position, I didn't have help, right? I was kind of just tossed out into it and said, here, all of these like 60 kids are yours, right? And
take it and go.
Like, great, love them to pieces, but like I can't do this in the state that I'm in, like without that extra support. So it came down to like, I need help learning how to plan sessions, how to design them, how to like execute them, and how to maximize like the time I have with those kids.
Right. I think that like one of the unique things about being a goalkeeper coach at TKI is like how surrounded you are with different but similar minded people, right? Like all of us have our own things and our own like areas that we really enjoy or feel a little bit more knowledgeable on, but like we're also like minded in the way that we like see the position and the importance of like how you treat athletes, that you just develop this community where you can like work off each other. It's like a workshop and a collaboration almost constantly. And it's a space where you can try new things and it's okay if it doesn't work out. And if there's intent there, it's like, okay, maybe I can pull something from this. And I think that's the hardest part about when you're maybe like doing it on your own in isolation. Like I definitely think trial by fire sometimes is helpful. But at the same time, when you're like, okay, but I don't know where to go next, it's almost like, okay, I need that collaboration, which I'm hopeful that like you've been able to receive that and like you feel that at TKI.
I absolutely 100% feel that. It's like been one of my main takeaways so far. And even on like my short visit prior to moving over here, like I was able to see that right away was like an opportunity that I would have. And even in just the few days I was there, I took away so much from just like viewing other people's sessions, seeing the way you guys worked off each other, but also like seeing the way you listened to the athletes and kind of catered to what support they individually needed was like so special, and really was like what solidified that this was something I really wanted and needed to do for myself.
So you mentioned takeaways. Let's go into that. How many months has it been now? Almost 3?
Tori, it's been 3 exactly. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, good.
You're stellar. No, my dad told me that the other day. He was like, you're almost to 3 months on the dot, which was sweet of him, but you smashed
3
that.
months.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 months. So also a fun fact about me, guys, is I'm no good with numbers. So the fact that I whipped that out was good. Like that was quick math. But we're at 3 months. At the 3 month mark, what do you think is like maybe your top 2 to 3 takeaways from like immersing yourself in not just at TKI, but like into goalkeeping coaching specifically?
Yeah. I mean, that first one for me, like so importantly, is an environment. And that's something I think that you guys foster so well. And like, I feel really happy and excited to be a part of that. It's very cool to see the way that the athletes here are treated. Like, there's no expectation for them to be good, but there's also not like a prejudice that they're gonna not be good, if that makes sense. So you come in with the idea that, okay, where they're at is where they're at. Like, this kid is small, but he's not gonna be completely helpless, right? So it's cool to see like approaching each kid with belief and giving them opportunities to learn and show that they're capable without delivering things to them on a platter has been super cool. That kind of like leads into my second like takeaway is like, I mean, one of our main objectives and goals here is like to help athletes be autonomous and be able to make decisions for themselves, like not just give them the skills that they need. So I think that has been like the number one biggest takeaway for me is like there is no need for that fundamentals first approach. And that has like fully flipped my coaching philosophy on its head, because that's all I ever knew as both a player and being a fresh coach, like observing coaches that probably had a more old school style has just been like eye-opening, because I see kids make leaps and bounds of progress without showing them that this is how you catch a ball and hitting it at them 20 times to prove it.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so wild, like when you think about it. I think we could do a whole podcast just on that. Honestly, you might have just given me an idea for the next one. But it's just cool because I think sometimes from the outside looking in, if I had to take a guess based on like maybe criticism or feedback or things we've heard, especially like, you know, we have a decent social media presence. Sometimes people will be like, well, that doesn't work, or that works for you, but it wouldn't work for me, or, well, no, it's more important to catch or whatever, like just teach them how to catch. And I think that I don't understand. I can't even pretend I do. I don't understand why people are so like hesitant to see that side of it, but I do understand that that's their frame of reference. And I think it's a cool perspective to hear you be like, my frame of reference was this, but now I'm experiencing this, and now I'm able to form what I believe and what I think is my philosophy and what I think and see working for me in real time. So your takeaways are super interesting to me. And I think if you're listening to this podcast, like a great thing about those two takeaways is you can start to challenge yourself to kind of reflect on those things as well.
Yeah, I think it's crazy too because it's not like this outlandish idea that you don't need fundamentals, but like to have not experienced that before and then coming into an environment where that's how things work, it's just so logical and it makes like perfect sense. It makes too much sense to the point where I'm like, wow, I can't believe that this is what so many people like hold on to and cling on to and feel like is absolutely necessary to be an effective coach.
Yeah, and I think that the hard part about coaching is, you know, it can be very much like Jill will say a watered down version of whatever, however you were coached at times, right? Like it's easy to fall into this is how I did it, or this is how someone coached me, so here's how I'm going to coach. But I think it's super important not only to experience and see different things and understand why people are doing what they're doing, but then coming together to make it your own, right? I don't want to coach the way Jill coaches. I don't want to coach the way that Maria coaches. I don't want to coach the way you coach. I want to learn from all of you, and I still want to coach the way Tori coaches. And I think that the examples that you're giving there are, it's just, I feel so like honored to be a part of your journey and watch you just continue to develop like as a coach and kind of come up with your own voice, not in terms of like speaking communication, but like your own voice and style, and kind of see you grow and learn. And I know it's only been 3 months, and truthfully we only really spend like a couple, maybe 1 day a week together because I was in season, but I can just already see that growth in you. And that's a testament to you and your willingness to just kind of like fully immerse yourself and be willing to like try new things and take risks, because this was not easy, and it's a hard thing to do, not just move somewhere brand new, but do something in a way that you've never done it before, which leads me to my next question of like, what has been the hardest part about this experience so far?
Well, first of all, thanks. I appreciate it, Tori. Thank you. Hardest for me, I think, has just been like coming into this new experience and diving into it head first. It's been the most challenging, but also like the most exciting, because before this, I was not like a full-time coach in the slightest. Like coaching, I did 3 nights a week, and then I was baristaing and doing this and that and everything in between. But I mean, that was one of like the big appeals, was I fully get to lean into coaching full time and like see what I can do if I put my all into it. But that has been equally as challenging, right? Because I have these goals and expectations for myself that sometimes maybe aren't that attainable. So kind of trying to find a balance between, okay, how can I like measure my progress as a coach without also, putting blame back on me if things aren't progressing at a rate that seems viable to me. So I think kind of trying to give myself a little grace has been hard.
Yeah, I could see where that is difficult because, we're not doing brain surgery, but like you want to do right by each person you work with, and you want to feel like you're living your values. And I think sometimes, like, let's say you have a particularly hard day or you're not seeing that growth, like sometimes it could be easy to be like, I'm not doing it. But just like anything else, like you have to be patient with yourself. And for what it's worth, I think that you're doing a great job. So hopefully you can see that in yourself as well. But I know how difficult it can be, especially when you're stepping into an environment where you are the newest one. And I don't think we try to make anyone feel like that. But I don't care what job it is. When you're the new person around, I think there's like a little bit of like stress of like, okay, I want to do right by everyone here as well. And, that's, I'm sure, self-imposed, but also like the kind of person you are is you're like, I want to do my job and I want to do it well. So I can imagine that that's a difficult thing to do, especially when you're stepping into this coaching full time for the first time.
Yeah. It's also been cool to see, like, part of where I had some, like, anxieties around that, like, being the new guy, was starting my individual sessions with players and having, like, that open availability. I was worried, like, players were not going to prefer to work with me, like, which totally makes sense. Like, you don't know who I am or how I work with you, but I feel very honored because I haven't had any coaches or parents be, like, questioning, you know, my abilities or my credentials. So that's also just a testament to this place that TKI has been built upon, and like just a community that comes and supports it regardless of who that is that's delivering the product that they're looking for.
You know, want to know something funny, and then I'll get into my last question. My like biggest anxiety, I feel like, when I started coaching was like, I feel like I'd be like, I can't be a coach. Like, I didn't even play at this XYZ level, or like, what's gonna make people believe what I have to say if I wasn't even like one of the best goalkeepers in the country, whatever. Like, and I would come up with this ridiculous slew of stuff. And now that I'm very far removed from those days, because I'm telling you, like, when I first moved here, I also didn't have a lot of coaching experience. I worked a lot of camps and clinics, and I had done like a couple one-off goalkeeper sessions, but other than that, I had never coached a club, never coached like group sessions. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I don't have the credentials to do this. And now that I look back, I'm like, nobody cares where I went to college. Nobody cares where I played. Sure, might they be like, oh, really cool you played here. But every once in a very, very blue moon. It's more about, okay, do they see value in how you're supporting them? And I think the biggest thing is, do the parents see value in how their kid feels when they leave that session?
Yeah, 100%. I've felt that a little bit too, because we're surrounded by like such incredible humans and athletes that have these crazy, you know, pasts and accomplishments. So it is hard to sometimes keep things in retrospect there too. But yeah, the takeaways that the kids are feeling overrides everything else, which is super awesome.
And it makes me laugh now. Like, it really does. Like, at the time, it did not. At the time, I wouldn't believe I'd be talking about this with you and like giggling about it. But now it makes me laugh. Which leads me to my very last question. What has been the absolute best part? Like, you look back at this, or maybe like 10 years from now, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, gosh, I'm really happy I did that because blank. And I know we're fresh into this. We still got a lot of time left. But as to date, what would you say has been the best part of your experience so far?
Is it okay if I have two?
Yes, queen.
Okay. Whew. Hoping you can bend that question a little. Okay. Two things that come to mind. First one is a little more like of a story, but there's this kid that I have been training like every weekend. He is 7. He is a 7-year-old. And when we first started, he had no desire to answer any of my questions or to like become engaged in any of the like questions I had for him.
Why would he make your life easy during your first like individuals?
Right, and he's 7. Who wants to be thinking that hard as a 7-year-old? But he's like, when are we gonna play the last game? Like, can we just play? But him saying like, can we just play, impacted me so much, because I was like, this is just a game. This is such like, soccer's a game. It's fun. So I kind of like reframed my thinking a little bit with younger players into how can I like make it really exciting and fun for them, but also get them to think about those things without directly being like, okay, when would you do this? When does this make sense? Like, and then over the next month or two that I've been working with him, like he starts answering those things or bringing them up like on his own, which is so cool. Like, it's so awesome. And then the cherry on top was that, because he's a little bit stubborn, as you could imagine, as a 7-year-old might be.
He sounds like it. He
is. He really is, but he's a gem. But like a few weeks ago, like on the way out, he gave me a little hug, which was just really sweet. So I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's so cool to see him like
play cool, Faith, play cool.
was like, oh yeah, have a great weekend, bud. Like, I hope you really enjoy your weekend. And then when he left, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. Just to like see him, like, he bought in, he's enjoying where he's at. He's like, feels comfortable. And that's all I could really ask for. So that was cool. That's been a really cool thing to like see someone start at one end of like, I don't really understand why these things are important. I just want to play, but also developing that and transitioning into I want to play, but also there's things I can learn and do that make it challenging and fun, and I can get better. And I see that because he would start telling me about like his games and how they're going and saves he was making, and like that's cool to see that happen. Yeah,
love it.
My second one, which has been so awesome, is like I get to sit down each week or sometimes every other. Again, Jill has a crazy schedule, as we can see from today. We get to sit down and just kind of have these like classes together. It's just a little one-on-one meeting. And we started out by picking different principles of the game that TKI has, determined and created. And we would talk through them. She would kind of teach me things that I needed some clarity on. And then we'd kind of been like brainstorming ways about how to develop and change them, which I really value those moments a lot because they've made me think so much deeper into the game. And also it's so cool to see that there's coaches at the highest level that are still looking to do more and change things and develop, like knowing that the game is never going to be stagnant and be the same is like such a valuable thing, especially in a world of coaching where it seems like so many people feel like it is this way and that's just how it is. So to know that there's coaches out there around me, especially, that know that it's always changing and we have to continue to develop the way we think about coaching is very impactful, and it's cool to be a part of too.
I love these takeaways.
Yeah.
Wait, you are a queen. Like, honestly, like,
that's so nice.
I've already said it. It's been so cool to be a part of your journey, and like, I'm grateful that we get to do work and do life together because you guys, me and Faith, we live down the street from each other.
We do.
Yeah, we go to the same coffee shop. But also, like, just getting a chance to work with people who are like-minded is so much fun, and I'm really excited about not only like the future of like coaching and whatnot, but also just the opportunity to continue and develop just new ways of thinking about the position. And I think your insight has been amazing. I think that people can learn from this podcast, whether, they're thinking about becoming coaches in general, or if they're interested in the coaching college. If that's something you're interested in, you can always reach out to Jill and Maria, let them know it's something you're interested in. You listen to this podcast, maybe give a little shout out. So, everyone can feel good about the fact that we got listeners in here. But also there's just so many things that you can take away about like starting a new journey and knowing that sometimes there's a scary thing ahead, but that scary thing is definitely worth choosing, depending on like what you're going after. So thank you, Faith, for being here today. Thank you for getting on the podcast. We're grateful for you at TKI. I'm grateful that our listeners got to hear from you, and definitely going to have you on again soon because you brought up some things that made me think about just different ways we can look at the position. So thank you again for being here. Also, don't forget that TKI University is what brought Faith to us. So if you're interested in TKI University, you don't have to be close. You could be far away. You could be in Thailand, and you could join TKI University. Applications are open, and we'll start in the new year. We have a brand new one on the West Coast that Coach Cam's going to run, and I'm going to be running the East Coast. So if that's something you're interested in, please make sure that you head over to the website today. But other than that, we'll catch you later.